A dado, a dado. So what's the difference between a dado and data? Well, a dado is that, and data is an Android. Hey y'all, I'm James Wright and welcome to my shop. Today I want to talk about dados. What are they and how do you cut them? This should be a very quick video. I'm actually not going to edit the video, the actual cutting of it, so you can actually see it in real time. How long does it take to cut this? So it should be kind of fun. It's a very simple cut that a lot of people like to overcomplicate, and I want to show you what this can do. So let's take a look at it. So what exactly is a dado? A dado is basically a groove, but it goes across the grain. That's the difference between a groove and a dado. Grooves go with the grain, dados go across the grain. A stopped dado wouldn't go all the way through. A stopped dado would stop, so it would go partially into the board and then stop. Same thing with a stop groove. If it were going with the grain, it would go to a certain distance and stop. But this is a through dado because it goes all the way through, which is kind of nice because then I can take my board and I can set my shelf slide down into that notch and get a nice tight fit. This is very, very supportive. The long grain here is then connecting to the cross grain. It's not the strongest joint in the world, but it is fantastic. Whereas if this were held in a groove, the long grain to long grain would be a lot stronger. But for this case, it's great for shelves, and these are shelves for a dresser. So the first thing we want to do is actually do the layout lines. And I have the two side walls of the dado, as well as a depth mark on both sides of the board, so I know I can go right into that marking gauge line. So the first thing I need to do is cut out either wall of this dado, and I'm going to start by grabbing a 1-inch chisel and just putting in a slight knife wall all the way across here, because I'm running into the hold fast there. Just to flip around. I love hold fast for this type of work. Just great for holding things in place and not having to think about it. And I'll come back around from the other side. This may seem like a waste of time, and you know, if you are really good with a saw, this might be, but this just makes things really easy. It allows you to get right into that knife line and not have a problem with how it fits. So now that I've made those out, I'm going to grab a small cross-cut saw, back, and I'm going to start from the side away from me. Just going to nick it in, and I'm going to slowly bring the heel down until I'm riding in that groove all the way across. Now that I have a slight curve established, I can cut to town. And I'm watching until the cut on my side gets down close to that marking gauge line. And then I'm going to lean over the other side, and I believe that's close. Yep, that's right on. And I'm going to do the same thing on this side. Now that I have those two grooves, we can come in with a chisel. And I'm just going to start about halfway to the marking gauge line. I'm not going to get anywhere near the marking gauge line right now. I'm going to start from my side. And I'm being very careful. If my grain were diving or weaving, I might not take that large of a chunk. Then I'm going to flip over to the other side. And I have to be careful here because the chisel is pointing towards me. But as long as I'm light with my taps and hold the chisel well, there's no way it's going to come at me. But I always want to start from this side so I don't blow out. So now that I have this middle area to replace, I'm just going to come back over to this side and finish out this chop. Then repeat the process again, halfway again to the marking gauge line. So now I have about 1/8 of an inch to remove. I'm going to take it all the way down to about 1/16 of an inch. Actually a little less than 1/16 of an inch left. And I'm going to continue this all the way across. Trying to keep it somewhat level, but making sure I don't dip down. And then tap back from here. And now I'm going to go into the marking gauge line. I have a little less than 1/16 of an inch to go. And so I'm going to put the chisel right into the marking gauge line. If I were really being picky about this, I would probably cut it in half again rather than going right into the marking gauge line, but I'm not. Now you can see here the fibers are broken on this side, but they're not broken on this side. That means I didn't cut down quite far enough here, and I'd rather not cut down far enough than cut down too far. But I'm going to pop out all of these to the marking gauge line. And then I'm going to come back in with that 1-inch chisel, and I'm just going to break those loose. Now that I'm guessing I'm to the marking gauge line all the way across, I'm going to grab my router plane, and I've already set up the depth to the marking gauge line, and I can just wiggle it across. And some people like to do this in steps. They might go partially with the router plane and then take it a little deeper. And I'm probably going a little deeper here than I should, but oh well. I'll come back to that marking gauge line. Clean out from this side, clean out from this side. Then I'll flip it back around because I don't want to blow out. And I put the handle of that hold fast a little close, but not too bad. And I'll just clean it out from this side too. And then do the final finish on this side. A few fibers here that are just holding out. I didn't cut quite far enough with the saw. And that should be it. Now I'm going to test it and see how it goes. I haven't tested this before, so I don't know, but I got to flip this board around because I'm on the other end now. So theoretically this should slide right down into that as long as it's in line. So just like that. Yeah, hair loose, but not bad for a shelf. That will glue up very, very nicely. So there is the dado cut. A very simple, easy cut to make, and a lot of fun. So I hope you all like this. It is a very simple, quick groove to make. Great whenever you're making shelves or basically any type of shaker furniture. It has a lot of dados and grooves in it, and it holds very well and is a very easy thing to make. So I hope you enjoyed it. If you did, please hit like and think about subscribing. Also, I want to say a huge thank you to the patrons on Patreon. Wow, you guys have been a huge help to me, and I love talking with you and picking your brains, seeing some of your ideas. If you want to know more about Patreon, you can click on the link over here. Also, if you did like the video, you might like one of the others. And until next time, have a wonderful day.